lost share, they've lost, movement. The biggest companies in the U.S. only, the new Pulte-Centex combination only does 6% of the U.S. homes. So there's no one big mover and shaker. You just have to start. There's a macro level, I think, a macro level change right now going on in people. So for example, we're doing probably a small development in Vermont, and the old developer that was there in 2005 was called Ginn Properties. Ginn did all the major developments in Florida, all the huge golf courses, all the big monster $2.5 million condo things.
Out in Colorado too.
And Ginn did stuff in Colorado. Ginn is basically out of business now. So, now the company that took over from Ginn is a Canadian company. Very awesome, very green Canadian group of people that are out of Intrawest, which was another big developer. And this Canadian group is starting to take over all these land developments and say, okay, how can we do this more green, more thoughtfully? So I think you need to be playing in the realms, whether it's in India, or whether it's in the big developer realms, if you want to actually impact carbon and energy use in the U.S. And I know that Ben's company has done a lot of cool consulting with some of the bigger developers, trying to move them toward, using spray foam or, calculating things on a monthly basis so they're not so deeply focused on the $10,000 investment they need to make now. But the good news is I actually think the recession has been great for the green movement.
Absolutely.
It's been healthy. It's like losing weight or going on a fast or something. A lot of the big boys have gone out of business, and if you have a little resources, we've been fairly well capitalized at Blue, and we've been able to pick up a lot of assets and look at a lot of different opportunities that we would have been ignored at. We would have been ignored by Ginn Properties or anyone who's doing something of that scale in 2005, 2006.
Yeah, the developers we've talked to lately too, they're building slower and they're building more thoughtfully. So they know that there's a lot of housing stock on the market, but they make their money by building houses, so they're in this sort of weird predicament. So they're starting to look at things that normally they wouldn't, just because they're looking at that competitive advantage versus a flooded market. They know if they're going to put something new on the street, that it better be a little bit different than all the flood of housing that's already out there.
This might seem be rhetorical, but to what degree does the decay of old society provide us with a perfect opportunity for evolution to the future? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Right. We have 3 more questions. You want to go ahead?
Thank you for the work that you're doing. My name is Cynthia Bly. I'm the Outreach and Education Coordinator for the Wisdom Way Solar Village, which is featured on panel 5 here in this wonderful exhibit. And I just wanted to let you know that I'm here, and if they have any questions, we have 5 homes remaining. I would be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Janet?
Hi, I went to Greenbuild last year for the first time, and I was blown away when I went in the marketplace and I asked them, where's your criteria for what can be shown? And there is no criteria. Anybody can tout their wares as green. And especially with you, Ben, I think your model was really interesting, but it's a slippery slope. I mean, I imagine vendors are coming out of the woodwork to you, telling you that their stuff is latest and greatest. And have you been able to create criteria, or is there some criteria out there that helps you assess and identify that level of greenness of the building materials?
Yeah, all of our homes are at a minimum 30% more efficient than a code-built home. But generally they range from anywhere 30 to 60%, and that's without any sort of solar or anything like that added. So as long as we meet that baseline, and they're all available for LEED accrediting. When it comes to actually picking our vendors, I mean, normally it hasn't been a problem because the vendors that want to sort of be associated with us tend to be the greener companies. So things like R-Control SIPs companies or bio-based insulation. They make a soy-based spray-in insulation foam. They want to be affiliated with our business model. They tend to be a little bit better. We won't obviously do things like vinyl siding and things like that. But ultimately, we suggest products. We don't dictate. A client can switch out every product in our home, and our advertisers understand that. It's just like picking up a magazine. You see an advertisement for flooring in there, but it doesn't mean you have to buy it. What we're doing is treating design as a type of media. But that's why, again, the energy modeling, the energy simulation becomes the critical point for showing some sort of transparency, is that you can switch out these products, but if you do use these products, you'll achieve a substantial energy savings.
Yeah, I wasn't arguing the energy thing, more like the volatile chemicals, the adhesives, you know, the chlorinated plastics.
Well, that's one where like lead comes in really handy.
And let me shoot this one. The very best source on this is the Environmental Building News, the Building Green, buildinggreen.org. It's and I'm sure you guys use that resource?
We have.
Yes. They've been going for 20 years. They've established their criteria. Every month they publish. They still publish in print, but they've got a vastly online presence. They're an extremely influential body of people in terms of aggregating information according to a set of criteria. It's their criteria, but it's also our criteria. I mean, my firm, it's a criteria of most of the people or the firms that are, for example, in this event that I was come from today in Boston. They are at Greenbuild. They are extremely influential. They're part of the LEAD program. Nadav and Alex Wilson, Nadav and Eileen. Alex Wilson, Nadav and Eileen. So there are organizations out there, and this organization above all, that are basically holding people's feet to the fire and doing it about as successfully as anybody. It's buildinggreen.com and Environmental Building News.
And to follow up, again, we don't dictate the product. So the people that download our drawings have all sorts of different interests. Some people want a traditional home and they just want to be really energy efficient, and they think the rest is sort of tree-hugging nonsense. Other people are really concerned about maybe allergies in their family, and they want the perfect sort of hypoallergenic home with like amazing air quality. Well, we try to use third-party certification, things like LEED, as sort of guides to help them sort of pick and choose how much money they want to spend and how green they want to be. And anyone can say anything's green, and it, like the comment about the green build, you know, there isn't really a requirement for necessarily putting that as a label on your things. So ultimately, it's about sort of just offering consumer choice, trying to communicate quantifiable data when possible, and that's the most easy to do with energy, and then use sort of recognized third-party standards like if you suggested, or like LEED and things like that, to provide a trustworthy path to picking the things that are most important to you.
Thank you. Another question?
Thank you. I'll try not to botch this. I'm taking a class right now that addresses some of the issues that we talked about, called the economics of green building. And on the code issue, there's a study from the Cascadia region, the Living Building Challenge, I believe. And they address some of the code issues. They talk about how, first of all, it's too scattered among local municipalities, so you have political issues and so forth, and a lot of disconnection there. And then also, there's the fact that, I told you I'd probably botch it. Well, let me move on to the economic portion. Is that the real estate valuation industry also is sort of catching up and evolving and starting to place value on green attributes that range from everything from energy efficiency to the other often cited things like productivity and health and well-being. And there's a lot of studies out there. Basically, they're demanding what they seem to be demanding based on all the studies that I'm reading is they would like to see proof and empirical studies. They consider a lot of the evidence to be anecdotal, and so therefore they've been slow to place value on green attributes in buildings. And you know, again, the code issue, going back to that, I can't remember what the other thing was, but if someone hits me up out in the hallway, I'll probably remember it. Thanks.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I think the thing we have to remember is it is an evolving condition, right? I mean, year by year, you know, the standards are getting more rigorous, but we're also, you know, realizing, you know, one method that can be superseded by another product or another method that now is recognized to have better performance. So it's a constant process, but I think they're, you know, as Bruce is referring to them, there's tremendously capable people out there looking at these questions very hard now, especially after a lot of critique of LEED and the sort of checklist mentality. You know, building science is really evolving very quickly now, and I think you're going to see the effects of that continuously.